Hey, book reader friends, this is Christy with Tana Hat Girl Reads. Welcome back for another video. I thought it would be fun for us to do a Q&A because I have never done one of these on this channel. So I am going to answer a few questions that I have in front of me here. Now my ask of you is that if you think of some other questions, maybe these questions triggered you and you thought of another question, put it in the comments below, and then for the next Q&A that I do, I'll be able to answer those questions as well. But yeah, please sit back, grab something to drink, and let's answer some questions. So the first question is, and I'm reading small font, so I apologize in advance for my having to squint and sometimes even pause. But what is your go-to vibe? Cozy night in, outdoor coffee shop, or a late night binge? That is a fantastic question. I am probably a cozy night in 90% of the time. Rarely do I crave a coffee shop, but that is getting ready to change for reasons I'll announce here eventually. And then late night binge, that one's probably pretty much a yes, because I enjoy laying in bed and reading. I am not one to stay up until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning anymore for anything. So to do a true late night binge, like I see some people doing 24-hour reads. I crave the idea of doing one of those, but I'll be honest, I don't know that I would ever be able to even stay up. In fact, if I did one, I would have to do it where I read and clock myself on how long I read. Let's see, the next question. Do you finish every book you start, or are you okay with DNFing? I am absolutely okay with DNFing. I probably push through longer than I should. I definitely have had some books where I've tried to push through and then I'm miserable, and they're like already in the first few chapters like a 2-star for me. And if it starts getting that bad, it's DNF'd right away. But some books I'll still continue on, and it's just not worth it to me. If I'm not having a good time, it's worth moving on to the next thing. I really have no problem with DNFing. I will also soft DNF, so it means that, you know, this is the right book, it's just not the right time, and I'm going to come back to it. Absolutely, DNF it. Life's too short. What kind of reader are you? Mood reader, TBR planner, or total chaos? I am never going to say that I'm a TBR reader, and I'm so sorry. So many of you guys do the jars and stuff like that, or the wheels that tell you what you're going to read off of your TBR, and I am too emotionally connected, so I'm a mood reader. I'm too emotionally connected to what I read, so it could be due to a cover, which is going to be one of the questions in a minute, but I have a problem with needing to connect to that book so that I will finish that book. And that is very consistent of me. I tried a TBR in a recent month, in the last like 2 or 3 months, and it threw me off. It feels like too much pressure. I don't do well with book clubs assigned reading either. I don't know if it's the pressure, or is it just because that book didn't connect with me, so I don't feel like reading it, and then I feel left out? I don't know, but I have a hard time even with that. I am a total chaos reader too. Even though I can answer yes to a mood reader, I am absolutely total chaos too. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm choosing. It's just that truly that's just a book I connected with, so I want to hop on it. My shelves don't even fully make sense outside of the fact that they are like hardback and paperback separated, and even that's a little chaotic, but they're somewhat organized in that manner. Hardback and soft book back. One day I'm going to add another shelf, I think, so that I can dedicate my mystery and suspense books just to that shelf, because I have less of those, even though that is my sweet spot. Fantasy is what overruns my shelves, so I always need more room for those, but I would like to have dedicated shelves to mystery, and that is a space that's coming up soon too. More to come on that. Next question. What's a book that made you fall back in love with reading? Okay, I didn't bring this out. I should have. In fact, today is a great day to mention this one. I'm doing this video on Tuesday. It is the 14th of October. So Red Rising Special Edition Book 1 is coming. Pierce Brown announced that he is going to do all of the books in the special editions. I'm so excited for that. That does mean very expensive books for me, because it's not just me. It's if I'm buying those for me, I'm buying them for my husband too. And it gets expensive when you're buying special editions for 2 people. But So that book probably got me back into reading. I had picked up the paperback, on a whim in the store, and I was like, this is neat. The way it holds, the way it feels, everything is fantastic for the pool this summer. And I was out of school that summer. I wasn't doing anything really of an importance. I took a couple weeks just to myself. I still have that book, even though I got it a little wet, because that book meant so much to me. I got my husband reading the series because of it. We finished the series now both together. That series probably really did elevate me back into reading, into other genres too. Chuck Wendig is another author that probably got me there back to reading, but in different phases of my life. So I was dabbling a good bit back into reading with Chuck Wendig. Came into my life with the Blackbird series, Miriam series, and then I guess I was still reading, but I wasn't as dedicated as I am now. And then ran across Red Rising, and Red Rising was like, that's it. That's what I want. And then, even though that's kind of a sci-fi, a little fantasy too, I find myself even now being drawn a little more to sci-fi, which kind of blows my mind. Fantasy is starting to find like a little rut for me because so many things are seeming so similar. And I'm going to answer a question that's going to explain that a little more in a minute. How do you choose what to read next? Mood, Rex, covers, and vibes. Okay, this kind of goes along with the TBR question of what kind of reader are you? But how do I choose my next read? And that's a fair question. It's rare that I am reading a book and I know exactly what I'm going to go into next. Typically, I must finish the current book before I have selected the next, because I get overwhelmed and I want to read everything on my TBR, and you can't do that. And that's when I tend to run into what we would call a rut, is when I have too many choices. So it is typically my mood. Sometimes it's Rex. There's a few booktubers I follow that if they've recommended something that I already own, I might hop on that. Typically what ends up happening is they recommend something and then I buy it and then it sits on my shelf for a long period of time, which is why I'm in the boat that I'm in now, where my physical TBR is too big for any one person to finish in a year. It really has been the goal this year to try to knock some of that list down, and it's going okay. It's not going as well as I had hoped it would, but we ran into a few obstacles personally in life, and that has derailed me a little bit. So I'm giving myself grace and just saying, it's not that serious. We'll get back to it, and it'll be okay. Okay, so the next question, this kind of falls under some book opinions. Which tropes do you love, and which do you absolutely hate? Book tropes I love, and it's not necessarily a trope. I'm not one for tropes, except for this really silly thing with mysteries. I love when the book title, because it happens more in mysteries than any other books. You don't see it often in fantasy, but where the title is at least one spot in that book, that is something I actually look for. And when it's not, I'm a little disappointed. It's rare that I get disappointed. It is very often that book title with a suspense or mystery book is in the story somewhere, and it just makes me so happy and giddy. What do I absolutely hate? This may be a current mood, and I'm gonna be hated for this, probably, but I am absolutely not enjoying the classes or the battling it out to get into the spot at school or academy or whatever. I feel like this is kind of like werewolves and vampires. It's kind of, for me, ran itself dry. It's a story trope that I am tired of, and I am really not feeling it anymore. And even that's not really necessarily a trope, but it's a storyline that I just really don't care for anymore. And sometimes I run across one that's fantastic, but there's only been a couple that I can say that really nailed it for me. Poppy War was one of those. I did enjoy that greatly, but that was kind of like, once I hit Poppy War and maybe Red Rising, it was kind of like downhill from there for me. I had no desire to really get into it with many of the other more popular series that are out right now, like Fourth Wing. And I tried Fourth Wing, but I think I just really didn't even feel to the adult level that Red Rising and Poppy War did. It felt too childish and too scattered. So for me, it did not feel, never felt connected to that storyline. And there's so many more like that where it just crashed and burned for me because I am burnt out on the storyline. So it might have been a great book, but it's not hitting home for me anymore. What book world would you never want to live in, even if it was your favorite read? Okay, probably The Classes. So that one, those two go kind of hand in hand. It's a trope I don't love. I've been done with it since Hunger Games, really, where there's classes of people. Red Rising did it fantastically, loved it. Favorite book of all time, probably. If I had to say one is probably my favorite of all time, which I have not been able to nail, it's probably going to be Red Rising. But I wouldn't want to live in social classes into that magnitude. I think we still kind of have classes in America today, sadly, but it's not so prominent in certain areas where it is in like Hunger Games and Poppy War and Red Rising and so many others. It's just that adversity and that putting you in your box that I just don't find appealing. I could never live in that world. Which author do you automatically run from? No questions asked. Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I read that wrong. What author do you automatically buy from? I thought I said run. And you could answer that still. What do you run from? There are some, but I don't want to be hurtful here, so I'm not going to actually answer that, which is good because it's not the actual question. Which author do you automatically buy from? No questions asked. Pierce Brown, absolutely. R.F. Kuang is probably a 90% without question. Robin Hobb doesn't really have anything new out, but if she did today under the name Robin Hobb, she would be bought, no questions asked. I can't even say Brandon Sanderson for me would be without question because I haven't read enough. I've read some, but not enough. I'm having to look. Sarah J. Maas is probably one that I would without question because they are dealing with so many storylines that I'm already so embedded in and invested in that I feel like I have no choice. Like I have to go buy that book if it comes out. And we are looking at another release very soon. I hope very soon anyway. But she has definitely let us know that one is on the way. I'm enjoying Emily Henry. Won't say that that's a without question. I would probably read the synopsis still. But yeah, probably Robin Hobb. R.F. Kuang's probably high up there. Pierce Brown's an absolute hell yeah. There is, I enjoy Sam Sykes, but he has kind of quit writing. He had a 3-book series that I absolutely fell in love with. So if he came out with another series, I would actually at least attempt it. I am enjoying Joe Abercrombie. I could see where potentially he could get to the no questions asked for me. I don't have an author in mystery, and I bring up mystery because that is kind of my roots in historical fiction. Honestly, I love me some Kristen Hanna because I love a little historical fiction. But I don't have an author in mystery. Even though I have my roots there, I don't really have an author that I'm just like, yes. There's a few Stephen King books that I will, like if he started writing more of the Hard Case Files series, I would be all over that. Let's see. What is the next question? What's your unpopular bookish opinion? I'm so sorry, but I must say that I did not like the Fourth Wing book to the point where I will not read book 2 or 3. I DNF'd that series, not the book, but the series. And then I sold off my 2 special editions because I will buy a special edition if there's a lot of hype. And that's probably somewhat unpopular too, of just buying a special edition just because there's a lot of hype. But then I make the decision from there, and then I'll go on Pango and sell it if I really didn't like it. It's just that one, again, just did not hit for me. And it's probably because I've been in such familiar, similar storylines for so long that I'm ready to also feel a little more adult when I read, a little bit more banter, a little bit more adult conversation with a little less speed behind it. I like a fast-paced read, but, you know, some of the spicy scenes and stuff don't have to happen so quickly without any real build-up. And I just don't feel like some things that we're being faced with in what feels like young adult / young adult books, I don't feel like are relatable to me. They just don't hit. So that one's going to probably be a very big unpopular opinion. And I'm sorry. I know that series was so popular with so many people, and it doesn't mean that it's not a good series. It just means it's not my thing, and that's okay too. If you could only read one genre for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? Let me know what your genre would be down in the comments below, because I think there's a space where you have your roots and then you have something that you're truly enjoying right now. And my roots is truly, it's historical fiction, and then I moved into mystery and suspense. I might even be able to reverse that. And then I moved into historical fiction and then came back to mystery suspense. I came into fantasy, then sci-fi, and then what has triggered, which is another question on here, what gets me out of a reading slump, has been these little hard case files books, because I hit a rut hard, and these are very short, fast reads, but they're also in my roots of mystery suspense that I absolutely love and enjoy. And those are the ones that will, you know, always feel like a home to me. They're cozy, really predictable stories that you know they're going to end a certain way. At least you think so. So it feels like home. And I like coming back to those. And to answer the question of what pulls me out of a reading slump, that probably would be the same answer, is something that is one of my home books, something that feels comforting to me. I don't reread. I know a lot of you do. I don't reread books. So I can't go back to a book and say, I'm going to read this and I'm going to feel this certain way today. I wish I was that way, because I really do envy people like, I got to reread it again and it felt so good. It was almost like rereading it for the first time. And I just really struggle with rereading books, but I absolutely love coming back home to the genres that I love. That's historical fiction, mystery, suspense, and then fantasy, probably in about that order too. I haven't read a historical romance in a long time. I did go on a banter of that for a while, and that can be home to me because that is extremely predictable. They're going to get married and someone in the family is going to get married in the next book. It's just one of those things that are very predictable, and it feels good when you have hit a rut to kind of, yeah, I just keep saying it, but it's true, to feel like you're at home. Like you know the story, you know this book's got you, and I love that. All right, next question. I think we only have two more. What makes me fall in love with a story or a character? All right, so to go back to Sam Sykes, one of the reasons why I love that series and why I love Chuck Wendig's Miriam series, and I look for this in many other books. Joe Abercrombie is great at this on a different scale, but still great at this, and that is banter between characters that make you laugh or just say, go girl, get it, yes, tell it like it is, you know. But those kind of characters that are just gritty and have fantastic banter and just a little raw, I love those kind of characters. They're fantastic for me. And the plot is always good when you've got good banter. It's just kind of like you don't have one without the other. They just go well, and typically even world building is fantastic with that type of writer that can build a character's wit and grit. It just makes me happy. Last question. What is my current... Oh my God, this is such an unfair question. What is my current relationship with reading, and how has it changed over time? My current relationship with reading is I miss it. I am, if you've watched any of my last couple of videos, I'm going through a little life change here at home, and we've been busy. So it's been a little bit harder to want to lay down and read. And then we've got another life change that I can't announce yet, but I will, that is causing, a little distraction to where the idea of sitting down and reading a book has been very difficult for me. Opening my Kindle now has been very hard. And I'm noticing a problem with going back from audiobook to reading. I was just talking to my husband about this today, and I'm wondering if that's some of my problem with some of the books like Devils, The Blade Itself, and Alchemized. I am absolutely enjoying listening to. I do think I probably need to go just to reading that one. But back and forth on that one too is a problem. Those are when I end up soft DNFing typically, is when I'm going back and forth. So I'm wondering if that's my problem right now too, is that I'm trying to go back and forth. I'm trying to multitask the way I'm reading, and it's not working. So my relationship right now is a little bittersweet. There's some positive and negative things, not negative things, but challenging is the better word here. There is some positive things and some challenging things that are making it difficult to want to sit down and just relax and read, or to shut my brain off because I'm enjoying the spot that I'm in right now. And, when I try to go to school and then walk around campus and listen to a book, I catch myself tuning out. I'm like in La La Land, and I don't have a clue where I am in the book. And I think that's actually a big problem too. There's just too much going on, too much noise going on for me right now. I think come December, I think there's going to be a lot more time to slow down because the semester is going to end for me. I don't know if I'm going to go back in January, honestly, because I'm looking forward to the idea of taking a year off. And I think that's going to open up a lot of time to read, which is great because it gives me more to talk to you about. And how has it changed over the years? I go through phases, probably like many people do, to where, you absolutely love reading. And then there's some times where it's like, if I pick up another book today, I'm going to scream, or I'm going to cry this week. I just don't want another book. I don't want to read, especially when it becomes a thing you have to do. And I took that out of the equation this past month. I said, you're taking a month off without any question, because I'm tired of needing to be here versus wanting to be here. And that has really changed my relationship with reading. Currently, it did make it harder to push myself to go read, but at the same time, when I did pick up a book, it did feel like it was for me and no one else. And that's actually nice occasionally. Even though I love discussing books with everyone, absolutely love it. But when you're going through something in life, an extra thing to do or another responsibility feels a little difficult. And that is where I am currently. Over time, it's gone through fluctuations to where I'm crazy. I don't ever read like some of you do, to where you're like somewhere between 100 and 300 books a year. I am typically somewhere closer to 55. This year, I'm not sure I'm going to hit that because of so much going on. I do believe next year I'll get back to that. I am past 30 books, so I'm content. That's what, a little more than 2 books a month. So that's a happy pacing when you're in school full time and so many life changes happening all at once. So I'm pleased with the way it's going, but I will be happy when my relationship with reading is back and happy and in a good spot, That is the last question. I actually had fun with these. I have never done one. I would love to do some more. So again, if you don't mind, in the comments, if you thought of another question, or, have another question you just want to ask, put it down in the comments below so I can actually put them together in another Q&A. I really did enjoy that. And I hope you all are having a better reading time than I am right now. And let me know in the comments what you are currently reading, because that might be my next TBR book. Talk to you soon, you guys. Bye. Happy reading.